YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in the Total War Attila Legendary West Rome campaign. This bit of commentary will be a little different than the others because I was stupid enough to manage to leave my microphone muted. Sometimes I get this brilliant idea that it's, kind of nice to just mute my mic while the TGN intro is playing, and that somehow that's going to basically help me not have background noise when it's going, like it's a big deal anyway. And then I managed to forget to uncheck the mute button and just go on jabbering away as to what's happening and not realizing that I'm not recording anything. So yeah, we do have a lot to do in this episode. There's quite a bit to get through, and we're going to have to basically go to battle against this Saxon fleet here. It's a transport fleet though, so I do expect that this will be relatively easy in the combat, and you all get to see how it ends here. But yeah, no, I'm having fun with this campaign. This episode and the next one will both still be recorded on my laptop, even though I'll be home by the time you're watching them. I try to use the time that I'm away on a trip so that I can, get recording done to where I don't have to do it when I get back, and I'd like to spend time with my family. So that's part of the reason why I got the laptop, and it works out quite nicely for that, because I can use, what little bit of spare time I have on trips to get this stuff done, so that, like I said, I can just kind of make sure that I'm just focused on, my family when I get back. Obviously this trip, if you all watched the CA Vampire live stream reveal, then you'll know where I was. This particular trip was not one of my normal work trips. This was actually with the Creative Assembly out in San Francisco, getting a sneak peek at the Vampire counts, which have now been revealed. And I will make a video when I get back to kind of sum that up a little bit, just in terms of impressions and all that other stuff. And then obviously there'll be more news on that to come. And you can just keep an eye on Creative Assembly to know when and what it is you're going to hear. There was a pretty hilarious general speech right there. Sorry I was talking, I don't know if you heard it, but basically he called the enemy navy a bunch of idiotic peasants, and said that they must have been emptied out of their villages and sent here to die at our hands. It was pretty darn hilarious. I don't always hear a very funny general speech in Rome 2 or Attila, but every now and then you get a nice little jewel. Their transport ships start getting wrecked immediately by my artillery. Doesn't take much. Transport ships have a very weak hull, and some flaming artillery is definitely enough to do it, and a ram from these ships is generally enough to do it. So basically this, the naval battles are usually a little ugly, but against the transport ships it'll be relatively simple. Now right here I turned off fire at will because I don't want to hit my own ships, but to be honest, when you target orders, see how my ships start moving, and then you have to keep targeting new orders, and even after they fire they keep moving forward. So really I probably should have just left those guys further back at the beginning of the battle and just left them on fire at will and let them fire. Here I get a couple of late rams, so they will actually attempt to board me in a few spots. But again, if you can just get a quick ram in, you do it. The most dangerous part of a transport fleet is that they just keep coming at you. And if you're not able to get rams, they'll board your ships. So like right there where the sinking enemy ship gets in your way and they just keep coming, that's the biggest thing that you have to worry about. Because other than that, it's generally speaking pretty easy. So see like right there where those pikes boarded me. Though I don't think the pikes do fantastic in combat. They do have a numbers advantage. You're going to see me target one of their archer ships. I just want to take those guys out so that we... and right there, I pulled back from the enemy transport fleets. It's kind of stupid because I'm going to have to turn around to ram them. So that was a dumb mistake. But I haven't really ever been known for great decisions in terms of handling fleet battles. They're just certainly not one of my highlights. I need to get better at them. And maybe if I ever played enough, I would, but... you just don't end up having to play a lot of naval battles, it doesn't seem like, in most of these campaigns. Because see, now I have to turn around my ship, so this is why this is idiotic. It just gives the transport fleets time to actually, catch me, and yeah, like right there, one of my ships got boarded. So, and then like right there, I'm not going to get a ram in time. So there's definitely a bunch of boarding actions that shouldn't be taking place here that are. But at the same time, the enemy fleet, they can't tie down all my ramming ships, which means that eventually I'm going to get the rams I need. And we're going to put these guys out of action. I think I'll go ahead and move my general to try and get in here too. And as you can see, the enemy fleet's falling apart fast because, like I said, you just need to ram here and there. And when they do board one of your ships, you just get one of your other ships that's free, and you just ram them. And then they'll immediately lose when you sink their ship. So it makes it a fairly easy thing to do. Since you can't actually board ships and take them over, in this game, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure why you can't do that. It seems like it would be a fairly easy mechanic to take care of, and that's what you would want to do with the transport ship, you know, is try and board and take the enemy naval vessel over and control it. The other thing that I think was a big miss for naval battles in Rome 2 and Attila was the fact that, you know, like in Napoleon and Empire, you had sail damage. And sail damage should definitely still be involved in these battles, but also the fact that you should have oar damage. So, like, there should have been a button where you had to try and pull your oars in whenever you're going side by side with another ship, or else your oars might get wrecked. Just would have been interesting to have that, you know, to where ships could become disabled from the destruction of the oars and leave them vulnerable to ramming from other ships. Like, would have created a much more interesting mechanic in my mind in terms of naval battles, but that's just kind of you know, what happens. So let's see. So yeah, we won that pretty easily. Even though the Swabians control the sea here, I can't replenish, so I'm gonna have to move this fleet back. And right now I'm just kind of looking as to what I'd like to do on upgrades here, and there's nothing that really particularly helps the admiral, it doesn't seem like. So I gave him the one that does a little bit extra replenishment. And I want to finish off the Saxon fleet, obviously. The game does kind of lag for a second, though, while it's saving before and after every battle, so that's what I was waiting on there. But yeah, we're going to take the Saxon fleet out. No problem whatsoever. Got those guys dealt with. We'll take on the warriors and just go ahead and move along our merry way here. So, but yeah, send these guys back over to where they can replenish. Pretty happy with this fleet. It's definitely allowing me to keep the waters around my coast there in Iberia clear, because otherwise you get invaded a lot. So makes things tricky. I mean, it'd be nice if I had a port a little closer up to where these enemies were coming from, so that I didn't have to sail all the way back across here to replenish, but we'll live. It still shows this sea area as hostile, and that's the reason why I can't replenish. It's kind of funny how you can replenish when you're out on ships anyway. I guess maybe they just assume that in between turns your guys would be, you know, putting into shore to get supplies or whatever, and maybe replenishing while they go. Yeah, so this army here, there's two armies of Picts that are right there in the middle of Italy, or in northern Italy. They're not right in the middle of Italy, but I don't like that. In fact, it's pretty concerning for me. So I go ahead and move this army from Narbonensis up, and we're going to take Legio 1 here, and I want to come down and attack these Picts. They're not at war with me, but to just allow 2 full stacks of potentially hostile troops here, and they will betray you. They will certainly take advantage of the situation and betray you. I've had the AI do that a lot, so I'm not going to allow that to happen, not in the middle of a legendary campaign where I can't afford that. I mean, if they moved in and took out a couple of key provinces that took away a lot of money from me, it could be really bad. So right there I was making sure, and sure enough, these guys hate the crap out of me. It says that the relationship's improving, but yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So the Swabians, I still barely trust them to go through my lands, and that's after they're a defensive ally who's fighting all the wars with me. Certainly not going to trust the Picts, who have really nothing in common with me, and I'm just making sure that if I attack, I'm going to get the support of both the garrison and my reinforcing army, and at this point I should. So again, that's what I'm just kind of measuring here to be absolutely certain before I, you know, start a fight that ends up going poorly for me. So I attack the enemy, the Pict army that's closer. That way it allows me to ensure that I get my reinforcements from the town. Yeah, I was pretty nervous about it. You can see me checking several times. I'm going to end up declaring war on these guys. And the auto-resolve would give this to me very easily, but, you know, in this campaign, I haven't fought a lot of offensive battles. I haven't fought a lot of open field battles, and this is certainly a big one, and so I felt like to auto-resolve this would kind of be cheating you all of seeing, you know, what is indeed actually one of the bigger open field battles, probably the biggest open field battle that I've played on this campaign so far. So we've got, I've got 5,000 troops, and then they've got just a little bit less than that by the time you count all my reinforcements. So it's a pretty big battle between both sides, you know, almost 10,000 troops here. Now they won't all be on the battlefield because my my forces number more than 40 units. And having 40 units is going to be a little bit rough on my laptop, but again, I've adjusted the graphics on this and on my desktop so that we get better frames per second, and I think I've fixed the issue with the YouTube uploads being like 50 frames a second instead of 60. Now, that said, I doubt that this big battle is actually going to run at 60 frames a second the whole time. But basically, I just forced my capture card to force the frame rate of 60 frames a second so that when it does upload to YouTube, it will always be the 1080p 60 option, even though the game itself probably doesn't consistently capture there. On my desktop, it probably will consistently capture there unless we get into a really nasty situation, but on my laptop, it'll probably have moments where it's still a bit laggy, and no matter how good your computer is with Attila, it seems like, you know, if you get like a big infantry blob or something, you are absolutely guaranteed to get some pretty big frame lag. And this will be no different. So here comes all my reinforcements. It's going to be a mix, which is kind of weird. It kind of mixed like the town reinforcements and my other army rather than just picking one or the other to send in as reinforcements first. Well, I guess it must have picked the town reinforcements first and then sent in the remainder of them from my other army, which is a little bit frustrating. But the good news about that is I have 3 completely undamaged Legio that were in the town garrison, and I get 2 undamaged scout equites. So those are going to be pretty critical units, and so this actually works out very nicely for me. And I also have spears on both flanks in order to help support my cavalry. On one flank, I've got 4 Mauryan equites and then the 1 scout equite, and a couple of spears to support, so I'm in good shape. One line will be Armigeri Defensores, and my other line will be Legio. Each being good at certain things. The Legio are going to be good in the sense that they can unleash some devastating javelin volleys, and the Armigeri are going to be good in the sense that they will be a defensive wall that will be impossible to break from the front by the Pictish troops that are here. If the Picts had better troops, then they would have a chance. But again, with what they have here, there's no possible way for them to to break my Armigeri from the front. Spears, again, I'm just going to throw them at the flank just to help support the scout equites that'll be over there because there's only 2 of them. And there's some enemy javelin cav. I need to make sure that the spears are there to help support. Sagittari here will be basically used to, obviously, you know, just shoot at an enemy general or whatever else it is we think we need. It's kind of funny, there's some war dogs over there for the Celts. But yeah, I've got all my troops moving up, and I see that they're leaving their onager behind over there on the far left, and I'm going to send a cavalry to go deal with that, because there's no need to let that onager actually join up with the army, because the AI is pretty bad about not protecting that kind of stuff, so that's something that you definitely need to learn to take advantage of. If the AI is going to do something stupid, take advantage of it. That's especially in these higher difficulty levels. Now, I know a lot of people get frustrated with that, and rightly so, that the AI does make such blundering mistakes, but it does, and if you're really wanting to be better at the game in terms of winning and maximizing your chances, you just have to learn what kind of idiot mistakes the AI will make and take advantage of it. In some ways, it's not all that different than playing against a person. You're hoping that they make some idiot mistakes that you can take advantage of, but with the AI, those idiot mistakes actually become predictable. And I think that's what gets frustrating to most people, is that you can predict how to take advantage of the AI. So, yep, we're going to end up wiping out this onager crew fairly easy. Not going to be much of a problem. And I was getting pretty greedy, and I kind of want a piece of those archers too, but they're gonna run away. They won't stand their ground, which means that they'll be able to get close enough to the support of the rest of those troops. So I'm gonna have to let them go and just take my scout equites and run back to my own lines. But the onager crew rallied, and I was like, of course. You can have like 2 or 3 men left and have a low morale piece of crap unit that rallies. But hey, whatever. It's all good. I'm just going to go back and kill the onager crew. Those archers decided that they were actually chickens and did not want to be that close to my scout equite. So they let me kill the remnants of their onager crew while they quickly hurry back to the protection of their own army. And that was probably a smart choice for them. I'm going to go ahead and move my lines forward. See me, I'm kind of just adjusting, like moving my lines up. I'm going to have, again, 2 lines, one being the Legio, the other being the Armigeri. And I'm going to try to basically encircle the Pictish troops. Rather than fighting front on, which I probably could, and I could probably win doing that, but rather than fighting front on in Legendary, it's better, obviously, to Try and get around the flank as much as you can. I don't always have very good micro in my battles, so it prevents me from always doing it. But in this case, where I have a clear length advantage to my formation, I can use my spears, my cavalry, my legio, everything to just kind of swing around enemy flanks. The AI, another thing that it tends to do poorly, and I've been meaning to download a mod that's supposed to correct it a little and see if it does, but they have a bad problem with when you present a long line like this, they'll blob up into the center of it, allowing you to easily outflank them. Now again, that's knowledge that you want to use to your advantage, but again, I was going to check out that mod and see if the AI does a better job of trying to engage you along the line. Because if they did, it would honestly make a lot of your battles considerably more difficult. Now here I do go ahead and spread out my Matiari in loose formation, so that if they do get charged by cavalry, it'll minimize the damage to them. Having that loose formation makes it harder for the cavalry to hit as many men, and it also makes my guys a little less vulnerable to the missile volleys that are coming back. But my Matiari are just meant to obviously deliver some javelins on the enemy approach, and then to move on out. Now, I think probably a good use of them here too would have been to just throw them all at the flank and try and get around the enemy flank and put javelins into their back, because you would be able to murder the enemy pretty quick. In this case, though, I'm not super worried about it, because again, in just a head-on fight, my Armigeri would pretty much destroy these units. I don't know about in or out of shield wall. It's obviously going to be better if they're in shield wall, because, I mean, the AI probably gets plus 10 or 15 to all of its units at this difficulty level. So getting into shield wall is always going to be preferable. Over here, the Celtic Cavalry Raiders decide that they want to engage my Maurian Equites, which I think is a big mistake, because my Equites are considerably better. And then over here, the Celtic Cavalry Raiders are going to come up within range of the Plumbata darts of my my Legio, and they're going to pay for that. And then once I realized that the Cavalry Raiders were chasing me, I was like, you know what? 2-on-1, I don't think these guys have a chance in melee. So I decided to just go ahead and issue melee attack orders against the Celtic Cavalry Raiders and use the rapid advance ability that they have. It'll make these guys tired, but it'll allow them to easily catch the Celtic Cavalry Raiders, because their speed goes to ridiculous levels. That's one of the nice things about that unit, is that it is impossibly fast when you put it into that rapid advance, and they can catch just about anything, including horse archers. So I may have to keep them around for whenever we're facing certain Hunnic horse archers, because they could be pretty good at either using that speed in order to get javelins, or using the speed to just get into actual melee combat. So yeah, we've caught them. We've already routed one of the Celtic Cavalry Raiders very easily. Right there, I was trying to turn off fire at will so I don't javelin my own guys. And I'm going to start pushing through here, get to the enemy archers. And then I have a lot of opportunity. Again, you can see the Celts are like just kind of bunging it all up in one spot against me, because again, the AI just seems to bungle these scenarios. So you can see me already outflanking with Legio. And I'm going to also bring some of my Armigeri around, and these spearmen are moving towards the flank as well. And got my Scout Equites moving towards, again, just going after their skirmishers. I'm going to get these 3 units, drop them out of shield wall, and start pulling up on the enemy flank, and then push in with the spears so that I can start to push. Basically, I just want to be able to push enemy skirmishers back, because my Armigeri are taking a pretty bad amount of damage from their guys. I'm being careful with my own Matiari, because I don't want to kill my guys with my own javelins, and the Matiari will do it very quickly. You can see these Legio back here managed to get all their javelins thrown, so it's going to help them be more effective. And here I'm going to just start collapsing onto the back of the enemy, just giving charge orders so that we can completely surround this enemy blob. And again, just chase skirmishers with my spears so that it pushes them off station, and gives me time to get my cavalry over to mop them up without having to worry about my flanking troops being shot in the back, which is always a very real possibility here. So yeah, you'll see me pushing skirmishers off position multiple times. And over here, you know, again, the AI doesn't have enough troops, so I'm going to use my Legio, and you're going to see me doing the shift right-click drag, and basically it allows me to send my guys on a quick move around the flank and to hit the enemy in the back. So here, just collapsing in with the Armigeri Defensores and bringing some Legio around as well. And then I see a great rear charge opportunity with my cavalry, because it's all open. There is still one skirmisher running around back there, and there's a bit of a blob back there too, where I have some Scout Equites tied up with some axes and swords. The axes and swords won't kill them super quick though, so I'm going to be able to reinforce with the spears and some Legio. And there was a lot of my own troops here, or else this would have been a perfect opportunity for my Mauryan equites to just throw all their javelins into this big blob. But again, there was so many troops of my own, I didn't want to risk killing them with my javelins, so there's going to be a lot of frame lag, but wanted you all to see this just massive Celtic blob that's going to be completely surrounded and destroyed. So the Armigeri kind of acting like the stone wall up front, and then the hammer dropping in from behind with my light cavalry. Only a light hammer, but a hammer nonetheless, and getting hit in the head with even a light hammer tends to hurt. So, wisdom from Patchy right there, in case you all needed it. Getting hit with even a light hammer hurts. That's right. So now it's just kind of a mop-up operation, so even as the auto-resolve thought, this was going to be a pretty simple battle for me. My biggest concern now is just making sure that these guys routing out of that blob get hunted down and destroyed, so I'm going to eventually move my Matiari to where they can be in a position to intercept the routing troops, because my equites are running down a bunch of skirmishers, and the enemy general is still alive. We're working on taking him out. I'm just kind of giving big blob attack orders now that it's late in the battle. Some of the enemy troops lasted longer than I thought in that blob, longer than they probably should have, but again, that's just the difficulty level of play. Those guys would have probably insta-routed at a lower difficulty level. Most of these Celtic troops don't really enjoy like super high morale or something unless they're like Scappa's teachers. So there we go. Just got all their troops routing, and like I said, we're going to do maybe a bit of cleanup work here just to make sure that the enemy doesn't get away with much. So I'm just kind of letting that blob there in the center play out, and I'm just looking for other opportunities for routing troops. Like, is there anything in particular that needs my attention in terms of what's fleeing? And honestly, it doesn't really look like it, so I end up going ahead and ending the battle once I just make sure that most of the enemy troops are dead. It needs to be a complete total slaughter while we have the opportunity, because again, you don't want them to have a chance to get away, which at this point, even if they did get away, we could easily hunt them down, but you know, one way or the other, just making sure. And yeah, that blob ends up getting caught and destroyed. One of my Armigeri there gets a ton of kills because of the folks that were fleeing the blob. So that the strategy worked out pretty good for me in that battle. Again, mostly due to the fact that the AI just struggles with whenever you start to outflank them like that. But again, that's for your knowledge. Hopefully I'm giving you all some tips that you can use in your own campaign. But definitely always worked out flank the AI when possible. It definitely screws up their thinking and can generally lead to some chaos. So there we go. Got some nice kills on several units. The Matiari ended up getting a decent number of kills, even though I didn't have them engaged for very long. Those units have been pretty impressively effective. And although their melee attack is quite low, they do fight with the sword, so their melee damage is quite good if you get them into combat in like the flank or something. So we'll just take a look at things here. Making sure to kill the cat, or actually I may have taken on warriors. I can't remember, one way or the other. I think I killed the captives if I remember right, though I didn't look at the screen right there when I did it. So income's good. We can move our army back to Mediolanum so that we can protect it. And then we can destroy these remaining picks. These guys ended up taking a pretty severe beatdown. And that will teach them to try and roam through Italy without getting my permission first. So, good riddance. One less threat. And kind of in my mind, like over the next few episodes, you're going to see me maintaining the line and getting ready to make some more pushes. I won't give everything away, you'll see as we come, but yeah, getting ready to make more. And I'm kind of just thinking about where is it that I should go and what is it that I should do. The Swabians hold a large chunk of like Western Europe, and I will probably need those provinces eventually, but I'm obviously in no hurry to betray the Swabi. Those lands are eventually going to be harder to maintain because of all the climate change that's coming. So part of me is thinking about just kind of waiting until later in the game. I may go up to Britain and try and take it back. Again, the fertility there is not fantastic in the late game, but you know, it's an opportunity for me to potentially just get it back and just make it through the rough times in terms of food. And eventually I have a mod that eventually switches it to, once you go through like a certain period of the climate change, that eventually the climate kind of shifts back towards normal. over time. So it goes, I think, from -1 to -2 to -3, and then it drops back down to -1 and eventually 0. So it's kind of like a ramp up and then back down. I'm still not a huge fan, again, of the way climate change is applied, but I think it has to be a blanket mechanic, unfortunately, where basically it gets applied to all provinces or none, it seems like, because I've never seen anybody come up with a mod where it only affects like the northern, like it affects the northernmost provinces more than the southernmost provinces. Like, so I've never seen anything that kind of goes to that scale. And honestly, it kind of goes against what I think the game design was intended to be, which was that the climate change forces the barbarians to flee south into the fertile provinces of Iberia, Italy, North Africa, all the others. It ends up just kind of being dumb because every province becomes an ashen wasteland if you don't put a mod on here. So like, some people get on to me for the mods, but that's why I use them, because they make the game more enjoyable. In my experience, it's less to do with the difficulty level and more to do with the fact, does the game play better, smarter, more fun? And honestly, some of the mods that people put together, in my opinion, are just do things that are better than the base game, and that's generally why I put them on. Now, Africa is starting to dislike me. You got the Africa faction that's in control of Libya there, and then you've got the Garmontians that are down in the Sahara. So not really sure exactly what I want to do with them yet. I am considering taking all these provinces though, but I would kind of have to think through it because I need to kill the Garamantians, and this army in Carthage is not great. I would need better troops in it. And Carthage itself, I got to looking at it here and realized that I should be switching the wheat fields over to sheep flocks because it's a very fertile province and it gets me pretty good income. Sheep flocks will drive really nice income, actually. So you're going to see me looking at it here for a minute, just checking the food levels and kind of working it out. And I decide that, if I go with a fishing jetty and 2 sheep flocks, we can basically make up for what the wheat fields were doing and get the extra money that comes with the sheep flock. So that becomes my goal, basically, at that point. I want to say that I should be able to recruit Armageri with the Legion in Africa. I haven't looked, because I do have an infantry building there, I think. I might over time like kind of slowly convert that military building from one to the other so that I can get all the different recruits that I need. Or I could just walk that army up to Italy, get what I need, and come back, though that's a little more risky because I would be temporarily leaving those areas exposed. Of course, if they attacked me, I could probably at least slow them down enough to where I don't have to, I'd have time to get back before I lost too much. But yeah, there we go. Gonna swap those to the sheep flock, and then we'll do the fishing jetty. We get a little bit of money out of the fishing jetty anyway. So that'll basically make Carthago into salty Carthago, sorry, into a lot more profitable province. That's what I'm aiming for at the moment. And I'm kind of considering whether or not to upgrade the to the governor's estate. I decided to go ahead and do that too. I need champions as well, so I'll be upgrading some of these, and just decided to go all out on the province of Africa here. And we have more to do down there too eventually to keep the income high. This army had finished defending Patchy Town, so I decided to move it back on into town to let it do some retraining. At least I think I do here in a minute. And then I realized that I need to keep those armies training. I had an army and a navy coming up, one to face the Visigoth navy. And then the army, of course, I'm just trying to get extras put together so that hopefully I can get a couple of stacks to go down into Illyria with, because last time when I went with 1 stack, we kind of got overwhelmed. So I'm thinking it's going to be more appropriate for me to go with 2 stacks rather than 1. And at that point, we should be able to overwhelm any enemies that get in our way and take care of business. I need to get the Visigoths. I mean, it would honestly be kind of preferable for me to destroy them. I could subjugate them, and I might temporarily, but part of me kind of wants to just destroy them and get them off the map. I don't know. Like, I don't know how many of these factions I want to subjugate, because eventually I'm going to have to come back and kill them, because they will betray me, and I just don't want it to be at the wrong time. But at the same time, sometimes having the subjugates are nice, because you get a little bit of income from them. You can trade with them, which is very helpful, and you can also use them as a buffer between you and the Huns, which is also very helpful. So those are the kind of things that you kind of have to keep an eye on. And here I'm just kind of looking through the different fertilities to understand, you know, like if I go take certain areas, what's going to happen whenever we hit the full -3 fertility negative from the climate change. And I was just kind of getting my plan together in my head. The Romans do not have particularly good answers to the climate change. There's some factions who are basically immune to it. The Romans most certainly are not, and that's one of the things that makes it a challenge, and another reason why it makes it annoying that all the provinces get ruined eventually in the base vanilla version of the game, because it doesn't make sense. It's like, why would everybody be trying to attack Rome if they were all eventually going to starve to death there anyway? So yeah, that was always kind of frustrating to me, like I mentioned, but not the biggest deal. So yeah, I was just kind of looking through what I wanted to recruit there, and we've got both the Army and the Navy doing some more recruiting. And I'm getting towards the end of this episode in terms of time, so not a whole lot of time left. Gonna end up with probably another rebellion down here at Narbonensis. So it's gonna be a problem, and then I decided to move this army over, but then Pompaleo there, Pompalello or whatever, yeah, however you say it. Anyway, it's they're still struggling with public order too. So all of Iberia is struggling. I have priest. I'm not sure if I trained him this episode, but I should be able to train priests soon if I can't already. And we can start getting them to try and help spread the Roman paganism, and that will also help with public order as that religion takes more root, and you have less public order issues. There's also research that I'm working on that will improve public order. Here I was just looking at upgrading one of my governors, and I decided to go with the one that gives the better tax rate. It's probably going to be the best. And then this one, I don't think it did a whole lot. I think I end up just going with the slightly lower construction cost. I don't know if I'll ever need it or if it'll ever do much good, but nothing else there seemed like it was going to be of much value either. So I was just making sure to put something on there. Got a little bit of extra integrity or recruitment. That one was campaign movement range, so I think I end up deciding to go with it because it drops upkeep cost and campaign movement range, and I wasn't super worried about integrity at the moment. Their integrity's been pretty strong, so 20% extra campaign movement range means that I can go, you know, like a fifth again further every turn, which could be helpful when trying to hunt down transport fleets. So I think that was pretty important. This army had some mercenaries in it, and I just go ahead and drop those because we don't need them. We're just paying upkeep on a unit we're not using. And then just decide to go ahead and go through a turn end. And obviously we're getting close to the end of the episode here. It was a fairly successful episode. Couple of decisive victories in terms of the naval battle and then the battle against the Picts. But then the Saxons turn around and show up here at Vienna. And I'm going to be forced to defend against them on the next episode. And that's where the next episode will pick up. Hope you all enjoyed this and had a good time with it. I will be back with more Total War Attila soon.